myself out.
I am afraid of...
I'm terrified and paralyzed by...
I am deathly afraid of...
Welcome to the Sum of All Fears podcast with your host, me, Ryan Perrio. Hello and welcome to the Sum of All Fears podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Perrio. This week, my guest is artist and musician Katie McCrimmon. Katie is a musician in the metal band The Convalescence, so if you're a metal fan, you might know who they are. They're a very theatrical metal band, so they'll have their face paint and a lot of melodic tunes. She plays keyboard, which is really cool, interesting instrument that she has to play. She also does fantastic art and jewelry. She actually makes art from the used guitar strings from the band, which is, I think, an amazing way to repurpose and sell merch while you're out on the road. In this episode, this was recorded live at the Hops and Arts Festival in Petticolas Brewery as well. In this episode, we talk about being in a metal band, her art, and then we get into her fear of being lost in space. So let's get into the interview right now with Katie McCrimmon. All right, my next guest is artist Katie McCrimmon. You can find her upstairs here at Petticolas Brewery. She's got some fantastic jewelry up there. Katie, how are you doing today?
So far, so good.
So far, so good?
Yeah, can't complain.
Are you a rain fan or are you anti-rain?
I love rain, except when I have to drive in it.
Okay. I'm not a driving in the rain person either. Like, I feel like when you're on the road, like, it gets harder to see. Like, I don't understand how the stripes on the road at night can be so clear and bright. But if it's raining...
You can't see.
Invisible.
At all.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but I don't trust other drivers. So it's just like absolute paranoia the entire time.
Okay. So how did you get into jewelry and art and things like that?
Well, ever since I was a kid, I'd always have to be doing something with my hands. I'd always be making something, creating something. Over the years, my jewelry inventory has expanded from, little plastic beads, glass beads, to polymer clay, stone, guitar string. I like to upcycle and recycle used guitar string. Not only that, but I also have recently started working with ethically sourced animal bones.
That's awesome. Is that what's going on here around your neck? Is that an animal bone?
Oh, yeah. So my necklace actually has a funny story to it.
Okay.
I also play in a touring band called The Convalescence. I'm the keyboardist.
Okay.
And we tour in a school bus that we renovated. So, springtime rolls around, and we were cleaning out the bus to get ready for a spring tour. And my bunk was completely chewed up. The mattress was done for. It was like a nice big foam mattress, done for. Because this asshole chewed through my bunk, made a nest, and then died in it.
Okay, so I'm guessing this is a rat of some sort.
It's a mouse, yeah.
Okay, it's a mouse.
So I now have a field mouse skull as my necklace piece because he...
You can't hear...
Oh.
Can you hear me? Okay, what about her?
Can you hear me? A little bit better? Oh, okay.
I can hear it in my headphones, so it makes it a little challenging.
Okay.
Okay.
A little better?
Better?
Okay, I think so.
They want more.
I can hear a little bit
They
of
want
it.
more, so we'll get
No,
them
I
more.
can hear myself.
Okay. You can hear yourself. We always hear ourselves, though. That's the whole thing, too. Is like
Theater voice, it's okay.
You're in theater?
I did theater in high school, yeah. That's kind of, I think, why I chose the band that I'm in, because we do very, very eclectic piece of stage theatrics. We use the corpse paint, fake blood, animal bones, the works.
So you're kind of like a new modern-day Kiss army, kind of.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that before. We're like, well, I mean, we'd love to be Kiss because they were great businessmen, great marketers, and they got their name on everything, and they became very successful.
Yeah, but that's there's a fun part of it too. Like even maybe if you don't reach that level of international recognition or fame, there's still the fun part of doing all that stuff.
Oh yeah, like, I mean, for me, touring, being on the road and stuff like that, it's because it's fun. It's getting to wake up in a new place every day and have different experiences.
So when the band came around, what made you choose keyboard?
I've always been playing piano since I was a kid.
Okay.
So that's kind of just one of those things. I was, very good at just writing music on keyboards. And then the band was like, hey, we'd like to add a keyboardist in the mix. I'm like, all right, I got this.
I'm your girl.
Yeah. And the one thing also with my jewelry is the fact that, like, on the road, if I ever need to make side cash, selling my jewelry on the road has actually been one of the ways that I've been able to sustain myself. Because living on the road sometimes it can be difficult, it can be tough, but having another means of income has really been beneficial in the long term.
Yeah. And it's a unique merch that only you can provide. Like, it's not a band T-shirt that they could go to Hot Topic and get.
Exactly. Plus, I used all the guitar strings. Like, when the guys are changing out the guitar strings, I take the used ones, clean them up, and actually I can wire wrap and add different things to the strings and make little necklace pendants.
That's awesome.
So it's been an interesting way to combine both my passions.
It's a really
one
cool
thing,
memory of merch memory. Like, if they go to a concert, they could have actual guitar strings that the band used.
Yep.
As a new necklace piece or whatever design you wanted to do.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's such a unique thing. Like, I don't know how y'all just don't do that. Like, that should just all be your merch. Is that recyclable, like, moments from the concert that you can take home with you.
Every once in a while, we will auction off certain pieces of, like, maybe a band member's, like, item of clothing that they wore on stage for a specific tour. Other times we'll have, we use a lot of, like, animal skulls and animal bones for our stage props. Sometimes I'll take the teeth and, make a necklace piece out of that, and then we'll auction it off and sell it that way. And it works out well to be creative in that artistic aspect to also help out the band in that way, too.
What has been your favorite band to tour with? Like,
oh my gosh. Someone asked me that question not too long ago, and I'd have to say it would be Testament.
Okay. Testament's awesome.
Because they're an amazing band. They're, legendary in and of themselves. But they're all just really down to earth. Like, we were very concerned they'd be, like, all like, up in their tour bus. But no, they were very sociable. We hung out with them, shared beers with them, talked to them. It was a really, really good experience to have that.
I believe they referred to themselves as three fat guys that rock at one point in time when I used to listen to metal when I was in high school and stuff.
Really?
So I used to listen to KNON and Rockman Radio way back in the day.
Oh, nice.
And so they would play Testament, and I believe in some form or fashion, somebody said that they referred to themselves as three fat guys who rock. And I just laughed at that because it's like, that's such a fun way to describe yourself, is to say, we'll own who we are. We're not going to try to pretend to be, too heavy or anything. It's what we are.
Well, I've never heard that phrase before, but if someone's able to identify themselves in a certain way and they roll with it, hey, that's awesome.
Well, that's awesome. So what other where other venues who else have you performed with besides Testament and stuff like that?
We played with OTEP, we played with Sepultura, Prong, Goat Whore, Venom Inc. We've toured with Cryptopsy, Discord, Surreption, Rings of Saturn, Those Who Fear, As Blood Runs Black, 6 Feet Under, the list goes on and on. I think one of the best ones, though, is we're able to do, big festivals. Yeah. Where on these big festivals, we've been able to open for Disturbed, we've been able to open for Slipknot, we've been able to open for, huge bands. Yeah. So it's been a good experience.
That's awesome. Have you gone overseas? Have you done anything in Europe? Or?
Oh, yeah. Actually, before the whole pandemic hit, the last tour we actually did was in 2019 in Europe with 6 Feet Under.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the metal scene here is one thing, but you go to Europe, that is...
It's such a night and day difference. Prime example would be, in the States, oh, yeah, you've got catering. Here's a $5 hot and ready. In Europe, oh, we've got catering. Here's a tray of meats and cheeses. We've got some vegan options. We've got some juice. We have this. And this is only the lunch tray. For dinner, you're going to have a nice home-cooked meal. You're going to have a salad and also other vegan options, too. It's a night and day experience. Don't get me wrong. In the States, we're treated really well, but Europe is next level because they have the funding, they have the appreciation of the arts that the States doesn't really. They have it, but not quite there yet.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I feel like there's so many other music venues in the States that that Europe just basically latched on to metal and dark metal, black metal, and stuff like that, and made it their like I would say their hip hop. That's their bread and butter.
Yeah, bread and butter. Yep.
So yeah, I totally think that would be amazing to do like the the Euro tour and things like that, to be able to go see such old villas in like Scotland, Sweden, all these like really old cradle of life civilization, like all this really cool scenery. And then also, we're just gonna play music with some of the hottest metal bands the world's ever known.
No, I think that's one of the best parts is with music, I've been able to travel the world and see so much that I never would have expected to see. And it's not that I'm going there to be a tourist, I'm there to do a job, a really kick-ass, crazy job, but it's a job nonetheless, and I absolutely love it. And yeah, being able to see huge cathedrals, being able to see, ancient structures, being able to just be immersed in a culture in a very unique and different way than just, being a tourist. I think that's one takeaway that I absolutely love about traveling with the band in general, really.
Have you written any of the songs that the band use? Like, are you like one of the songwriters for the...
Yeah, actually all the keyboard parts for every single album track, I do the keyboard parts for it.
Just keyboard? But, okay, I didn't know if you had actually written a whole like song that everybody is...
The whole song? No. The guitarists write the guitar parts. The bass player writes the bass part. The drummer writes the drum parts. I do the keyboards. The vocalist writes all the lyrics. So we all have our own little thing that we do. And since we're all spaced out across the entire U.S., we've got 2 in Michigan, 2 in Ohio, and then 2 in Texas. We usually just have to work online and send tracks back and forth to one another. That's actually what we were doing during the pandemic. We were writing an album, and actually next month we're going to go to the studio and actually wrap it all up together and get it done.
So what's that like to take what you have y'all like online, do y'all try to combine and do everything on?
We never done like a live jam session online, but we'll write the tracks. Like the guitarist will write the stuff, the drummer will write his stuff, then they'll send it to me. I'll write the keyboard stuff. They'll add in the bass, then the vocals, and then that's how we'll do our pre-production. That's usually the typical setup of how we do it.
So are you jealous of the vocalists when they just have to pack up their microphone after a gig and everybody else has to like go all these case upon cases of stuff?
Well, I'm not jealous of the drummer. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Because my friend's a bassist, and so he's like, man, we all hated the vocalist because every time we're done with the gig, they're like, pack a little mic, whoop, see you guys next week, and then the rest of the guys are loading the van. And
no, he has a stressful enough job as it is. He's usually the one booking and managing us. So if he just packs up his mic and goes about his business, that's completely fine because he has a lot of stuff that he does behind the scenes that I totally respect.
He is the front man in more ways than just singing.
Yes, exactly. So it's like, pack up your mic, go send those emails out, do your thing, you're fine. Yep, exactly.
Wherever you need us next, we'll be there.
Exactly.
So you have a very interesting fear, which is you have a fear of being lost in space.
Yeah, I know that sounds completely ridiculous, but I saw this one sci-fi movie years ago called Sunshine, and then I recently saw this other one called Galaxy of Horrors. And it was basically this one person in a spacesuit watching their spaceship crumble. There's no way they can communicate with another spaceship. Their oxygen is going to run low, and they're just out there floating in this vast black abyss with no help, no means of getting anywhere. You're just lost out in space. And I mean, I really don't think commercial space travel is going to ever happen in my lifetime. I hope it does, because that'd be really awesome, a vacation on the moon. But I think just with those sci-fi movies, it really makes you think about different possibilities. And I hope that never happens to me. But if I was stuck in that situation, just being absolutely trapped, but not trapped in an enclosed space, but trapped in a vast space with nothingness. Nothing you can go to, no one you can call for help, nothing you can do to be resourceful about the situation. I think that's my biggest fear. And it's not necessarily just being in space, but like I said, like being stuck in a situation where you have no resources to get out. That's, I think, my biggest fear.
And you just have time. All you have is time
to notice your oxygen tank running low, time to realize you're running out of water, time to realize all these things that you coulda, shoulda, woulda done differently. But nope, now you're just floating out there somewhere.
I like how you're still on board with space travel, even though that is your fear. Like, you're like, you know what? I still would do the space travel. I just hope that I'm not the unlucky one.
Exactly. Like, I would someday, but I just hope that doesn't happen.
So where did this fear... So you watched the show. How long ago was this?
Oh, God, it must have been quite a few years ago, but most recently I saw that Galaxy of Horrors. I mean, of course, pandemic, we just watched a bunch of movies and TV shows, so I started just browsing different sci-fi movies, and I came across that one and was like, oh my God, I never want that to happen to me, ever.
So have you thought about writing songs about, like, kind of that, maybe being that trapped...
Maybe. I mean, it would probably take on a more metaphorical perspective instead of actually literally being out in space running out of oxygen. But I think that would be a interesting concept, because I think that on a basic level, people can relate to being trapped
it's buried alive.
and not having resources.
Yeah, it's like being buried alive, or...
Yeah, exactly.
So you can. I just feel like it's such a great song, because it's you can either raise or lower the tension based on where you are in the phase of it, like, because it could go back up and back down as you get to acceptance. And
well, I mean, it would kind of mirror the 5 stages of grief: the shock, the anger, the bargaining, the depression, and the acceptance of it. Yeah.
Or you could do a whole album and just have each song represent one stage.
I mean, I do have a solo project as well that I'm trying to get off the ground. So yeah,
that's awesome.
I might segue into that.
So is that is this just solo keyboard?
Yeah, just keyboard and vocals, little, drum tracks and little background things that I've done myself. But it's just something, I guess, on the other end of the spectrum of what I can do, because everyone knows me for playing, being a death metal keyboardist. But I can also, do very soft melodic pieces that still have a lot of emotion behind them.
Okay. So where do you get your key for your solo project? What are your influences coming from?
Honestly, I'd have to say my biggest influence is this Italian composer. His name's Ludovico Einaudi. He just writes very moving piano pieces, very simple, but just very, very haunting, very nice. Of course, I'm a huge fan of like Children of Bodom, Nine Inch Nails, other bands like that, and so I kind of draw, of course, Massive Attack, like trip hop kind of stuff, just for like the simple like piano beats that can come through. I try to get my inspiration from a little bit of everything, because I mean, one little thing might spark something totally different.
It's interesting, I guess, because your solo project may not want to be death metal. It may be something more... It's
going to be totally different than death metal.
Yeah, I was like, because sometimes you just want to grow your wings and say, there are other venues of keyboard that I could do something more classical. Exactly,
yeah. Something a little bit more versatile than what I had been doing.
And it's fun to just kind of go back to your piano, your background, and get to like the classics. And
oh yeah, I was trained. Well, I wasn't classically trained, but I did play a lot of classical music growing up. So I think that's what kind of influenced me to write the way I do, especially with death metal. A lot of people just think it's a lot of noise, but when you actually break down the music, it's a lot of harmonization. It's a lot of music theory, very complex music theory and timing that has to come together in just the right way to make the song what it is. Yeah. And I consider it modern classical music because of how complex some of these songs can be structured.
Yeah.
That's why I like it.
Yeah. Like I said, I grew up with metal and stuff, so I had a lot of anger from being short in stature and picked on. So I resonated a lot with metal because it was a lot of pain, and things like that. So I totally resonated with those feelings, and so I totally get like the harmonization and just trying to making all these little pieces fit and trying to do something different, because after a certain amount of time you've got to try different chords, you've got to try different beats, you've got to try, like Slipknot is organized chaos. Oh,
I love Slipknot. They're one of my favorite bands, and I think honestly Slipknot is one of the bigger influences on the band in what we're doing, because we do the corpse paint, we do the fake blood, we do the whole stage uniform, we do the theatrics, we do all of that because we don't want to just go on stage and be some guys in jeans and t-shirts. We want to actually put on a show. We want to make it memorable because, exactly like you said, a lot of people gravitate towards the metal genre because it speaks to them in ways, because they're rejected by society. They're, talked down upon. They just don't feel that they have their niche or their place to fit in. Whereas metal, everyone can be involved, everyone's invited, and I think that's why I want to continue playing metal, because I also had similar situations. I was a little bit of an outcast, and I just wanted to be accepted for who I was. And metal accepted me, and I can actually now write music and have that to hopefully give that hope to somebody else at some point.
Metal to me is repressed, is what I call it. It's a repressed pain, because you're screaming because you've been pushed down so much. It's a visceral reaction to the situation, to the no-win situation you face.
Yeah, and especially like at live shows, like I can count countless of times where a lot of people have said, like, oh, I had a shit day, but I went to your show and everything's better, or like, oh, your album got me through like the roughest time of my life. Like, just hearing things like that make it worth it to me, and I know the rest of my bandmates feel the same way. We're out there for a reason and for a purpose, because people love what we do. Like, if we were there for the money and for the fame, no, that's not it. It's for the fans that love it. Yeah.
We were in a school bus.
Yeah, we toured in a big black school bus. We got a new one, and we're really excited to try it out for this year. We do have some shows coming up in July. We've got a full tour coming up in August, and some big festivals in September. We're actually going to be playing Incarceration Fest up in Mansfield, Ohio. That one already sold out. Like, I'm like completely mind blown about it being sold out already.
Are you going? There's like a big one in Kentucky too, I believe.
I don't remember what that one is, but I know that there's also like Blue Ridge Rock Fest. We played that one a few years ago. That one was fantastic. There's going to be Orlando coming up in Florida. That one's going to be with Judas Priest. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Awesome. Well, I thank you for doing this. Where can people find you on social media?
Social media, you can look up my personal page. My name is Katie McCrimmon, or my personal is Katie Sarah. I go by my first and middle names, vice versa. And of course, also, I'm here because I make jewelry. I do custom orders, so you can find me on Chaotic Creations. That's my Facebook name for my jewelry business. Definitely look up the band on Spotify, iTunes. We have albums on Amazon. We've got a bunch of merch on Big Cartel. Just look up The Convalescence. You'll be able to find that link too.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing this, Katie. Wish you the best of luck. Round of applause for Katie, ladies and gentlemen.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me out. And this is definitely spontaneous and unexpected, and I like it.
Rock on. So that was Katie. She's a fantastic creative, fun conversation, and amazing musician. I love that she has all these little avenues of creativity. I'm very intrigued by her fear. I feel like it's almost like abandonment. Because I would think being lost in space would be kind of like more than I can mentally process. Just knowing that it's over and that you have this infinite abyss and that there's no hope within this infinite abyss of being saved or returned. That would be something I would think would be something more than my mind could ever process. Check out Katie on Facebook at Katie Sarah, Katie McCrimmons. You can check out the band The Convalescence as well. Right now, I think one of the musicians is having to pass a kidney stone, so wish them the best in that situation. That's never a fun time. Also, check out her art at Chaotic Creations. That's CHAOTIC Creations. I will post a link in the show notes to that Facebook as well. You can also check out The Convalescence. Their band is at facebook.com, The Convalescence. That's TheConvalescence. Check them out, and hopefully they'll get back on tour soon, and you can catch them at a live show if you like metal music. If you don't, give it a listen. Maybe you don't realize how cool metal can be. I grew up on it myself, so I am always a fan of metal music, so as well as others. Like, I love rap. I love all kinds of music for the most part outside of, I would say, like, not Papa Roach, but Cottonmouth Kings and things like that. That's not my speed, but maybe it is yours. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate all your listening. If you like what you hear, leave a review on Apple, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just leave a review. It helps the visibility of the show. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody that came out this weekend to Fort Worth with me and Liz Mealy. I have probably been pronouncing her name wrong in previous episodes. It is Mealy. We're having one more show today at Sunday, and so I will be a busy man. I'm recording this in the morning to get up and out because I'm also hosting a Dave & Buster's Cowboys watch party in Arlington, Texas. And so looking forward to that. Also looking forward to the show tonight. Last night I sold all my t-shirts that I sell at comedy shows, so I'm pretty in awe right now. It was a great weekend in Fort Worth. I hopefully can get one more in before the year's out. If you can, check me out at Ryan Perio. I'm going to try to do more fun stuff with the internet, and because that's how old I am that I call it the internet. I don't call it Instagram or Tinder or whatever you guys see things on. I sold 720. That was awesome. Not 720 shirts, but 36 shirts, and it was a fun time. And I appreciate everybody. We all went out. Me, Cheyenne, and Liz went out for tacos afterwards. Cheyenne will be a future episode of this podcast. We interviewed yesterday, and so I'm looking forward to posting that. We'll have more interviews here soon. I'll have another interview next week. I'm almost done with all the Hops and Arts Festival live shows. I got a couple more, and I need to reach out to find someone that I felt didn't get enough time to really showcase what they wanted to talk about. So I want to give them an opportunity to interview. So more interviews in the can. Got more coming up. I got a couple more next Saturday. I'm going to try to do a couple almost every Saturday just to kind of build up my stockpile of interviews. I've got a few left, but we'll keep it going. I thank you guys for listening. Next week, we'll have another guest with another fear. Thanks for listening to Some of All Fears podcast. And now some thank yous for the folks that make this show possible. Thanks to Barry Whitewater for my art and graphics. You can follow him on Instagram at bwhiteh2o. Get it? H2O like water. You can also follow him on Facebook, Music. A huge thank you to Gunnar Olsen for the wonderful music provided for this podcast. You can follow him on Instagram at gunbuns, that's GUNBUNS, as well as his website, gunnarolsen.net. Check out some of the samples that he has recorded. They're amazing. He's an amazing percussionist. If you want to follow the show, we've got a Facebook group, Some of All Fears. Instagram, Twitter, you can find us at Some Fear Fans. If you have some feedback for the show, email me at somefearfans, SOMEFEARFANS @gmail.com. I'll be happy to take those into consideration. Also, if you'd like to be a guest, email me at somefearfans@gmail.com. We can try to iron out some details and get that settled in. Give us some feedback. If on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, leave a review. It makes the show bigger, and it's not going anywhere. I'm going to record as many shows as I possibly can. If you want to follow me on social media, I am at Ryan Perio. It's RyanPerio on all social media platforms. You can follow me there, and you can check me out at ryanperio.com, my website. I'll try to list upcoming shows there as well. It's been kind of spotty because as soon as I set it up, that's when the pandemic happened. And everything's kind of just in a holding pattern. Thanks again for listening to the Some of All Fears podcast. Next week, we'll have another guest with another fear. Thanks for listening.